I have some handouts for you folks. Please take one and pass it down.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow members, distinguished guest, welcome back. How many of us really enjoy those fall weekends when NFL football season is here and we get to watch football every weekend? How many of us have ever thought, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could be the owner of one of those teams and have control over all the football operations of that team? Well, with fantasy football, you have that ability. Fantasy football is an interactive competition between you and your friends that you can manage a team of NFL players against one another. Players earn their team points by scoring touchdowns and based on their performance during their weekly games. For example, a player can earn your team 6 points if they score a touchdown. It can also earn your team additional points by gaining yards during their games. There are 3 main stages in establishing and managing a fantasy football league team. Stage 1, preparing for the draft. Now what you have in front of you, the first page of your handouts, is a cheat sheet for preparing you for a fantasy football league draft. There are over 300 NFL players on this cheat sheet, and it's broken down by position: quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, kickers. So you can go in prepared when you have your fantasy football league draft. Also, under each position, these players are ranked based on their scoring from the previous year. You want to review the top players at each position prior to attending your draft, and then pick a few players that you'd like to target as being your top picks. Each league usually has between 14 and 16 players on a team, and only 8 of those players start for your team each week, which means they're eligible to score points for you. So think about what kind of positions and what kind of players you'd like to have on your team to give you the best opportunity to score points. Stage 2, selecting your team. Your team will be made up of the following positions. You'll have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 kicker, and 1 defense and special teams. As I stated earlier, players earn their team points based on their performance in their weekly games. Touchdowns count as 6 points. So if one of your players gets a touchdown, your team gets 6 points. Running backs and wide receivers earn 1 point for every 10 yards that they gain. Kickers earn points for field goals and points after touchdown, and also get additional yards for longer kickoffs or longer field goals. Quarterbacks get 1 point for every 25 yards that they pass for. And then defense and special teams get points for things like sacks, turnovers, safeties, or kickoff returns. Now, there are many schools of thought in terms of picking your team and strategies for selecting the players for your team. But most GMs go into their draft with the idea that they're going to get the top running backs out there because they usually score the most points for your team. Stage 3, setting lineups and managing your team. Each team owner must designate players from their team that will be their starters for each week. As I said, there's 8 starters that will actually be able to earn points for you. Your second handout there, your third handout, is actually the ESPN Fantasy Football League website. This is where you'll house your team and manage your team on a weekly basis during the season. What it has here is it's going to show you your 16 players on your team. Your top 8 will be your starters, and those will be the players that will be eligible to score points for you during that week. Now, once your team has been selected and entered on the website. It's just a matter of sitting back and monitoring your team as the games go on during the day. The next handout, handout 4, shows you the overall scoring for your games. You'll have two teams, your team and your opponent, and it'll show you your top 8 players that are eligible to score, the points that they've scored for you that day, your total points, as well as your opponent's team players and their total points. The next handout is a more detailed screen that also gives you the points for your team and your opponent's team. This is going to give you individual stats on passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, your kicker stats, as well as your defensive stats, and how they add up to points for you, as well as your opponent. Now, this website is kept up live each week. So as your games are going on and as the NFL games are being played, your scores are going to be up to date live. So you can really follow your team and your opponent in your game each week. The next handout, number 6, shows you the overall league as a whole. In my league, there's 10 teams, 5 and 2 divisions, and it gives you their overall records and other stats like the number of games they've won at home or away, the total number of points your team scored, and gives you an ability to monitor your team and see how you play out as far as the playoffs go. Now, let's say you get a couple games into your season and a couple of your players get hurt. What do you do then? Or like me, half your players stink and you want to get rid of them because you didn't draft very well. Well, this website also gives you the ability to drop players on your team and add new players. The free agent page of the website lists all of the players that none of the other teams have picked up in the draft and that are available for you to pick up for your team. But you can only have 16 players on a team, so when you pick up one, you have to drop one. So if they're injured or if you don't like them, you get rid of them and pick up new ones. Now, it's estimated that over 19 million people today play fantasy football online nationally. So if you haven't had the chance to play in a fantasy football league, I encourage you to get involved. Find a league, or you can get with your friends and create a league. Set up a draft, pick your players, manage them online, and then after that, just sit back and have fun watching all your players from different teams play each week. And you just may be able to win the Super Bowl. Thank you.